Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Warrant Officer Class 2, Joanne Davey. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors and by students on behalf of the following schools. From South Australia, Tatachilla Lutheran College, Primary Department, and from Victoria, St John's School, Thomastown. I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Thank you. Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private William Theodore Henry Jahns. William Jahns, who went by his second name Theodore, was born on the 19th of January 1894 to Henry and Kate Jahns of Tamworth, New South Wales. After attending the local convent school, he went on to work as a printer. He also served in the local military forces and was a bandsman. Jahns enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force shortly after the outbreak of war in 1914, despite his parents' disapproval. After a period of training in Australia, he left for active service overseas with the 2nd Battalion. The 2nd Battalion were first sent to Egypt, where they continued training in the desert. In early April, Jahns sent a letter home to his parents. "You called me silly and mad when I enlisted, but you no doubt see now that I took the right step. I only did what any other young fellow physically fit should be doing now. I knew all along the seriousness of my step, but I couldn't, if I were at home, see all the elderly men of the town undertake military drill while I carried on as if nothing had happened, like a lot of young men are doing." Jahns thoroughly enjoyed his experience training with the AIF, writing, "I have seen such a lot and gained more experience in 6 months than anyone in civil life would do in 6 years. There are all kinds and classes of men in the AIF, from the outback possum shooters and wandering shearers to the capitalists and bankers. All are mixed up together and none is considered better than the next." Private Jahns' suspicion that he would soon be sent to the Dardanelles was correct. On the 25th of April 1915, the 2nd Battalion went ashore on Gallipoli as part of the 2nd and 3rd waves of the landing. Over the course of the day, the battalion was sent up to the heights to establish and defend a front line. After nearly a week of fierce fighting, the 2nd Battalion was briefly withdrawn to the beach before being ordered to reinforce the 3rd Battalion. On the 2nd of May 1915, the men of the battalion marched under heavy shrapnel fire to their new position. At some point on this day, Private Theodore Jahns went missing. Nothing is known of his fate, and it was not until March the following year that a court of inquiry pronounced him killed in action on the 2nd of May 1915. His body, if it was recovered, was never identified, and today he is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial. In 1916, Theodore's younger brother Clifford also enlisted in the AIF. He was killed in 1917 when a shell blew in the roof of his dugout. Both Theodore and Clifford were killed when they were 21 years old. Their names are listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Theodore Henry Jahns, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.